What's up, everybody? Hello, good morning, and welcome for some StarCraft. Welcome to some StarCraft. God damn it, I messed that up. All right, we got a show for you today. We've also got some minor drama. It's already off to a great start. Just take a deep breath. Take a deep, long breath. How are you doing, Zombie Grub?
I'm all right.
That's good to hear.
Yeah, how are you?
I'm dandy. So we had to remove a lot of people from the brackets this morning. Most of them are folks who just signed up because they signed up for everything, like Gumiho and a couple others who are not eligible to play in the European region. A couple others are some of the... Well, let's just be honest, guys. Guru is banned from BaseTradeTV events. And it's really annoying that he doesn't seem to understand this. So when he gets removed from brackets, because he's banned from our events, he gets really mad. And for example, right now is in the chat channel calling me a retard. It's fantastic. I don't care, and he's whispering and calling me a noob as if this is meant to hurt my feelings. I don't, again, it's just so frustrating, not because my feelings are hurt, but because we have to deal with this child, and there's no way to just remove him from the channel or prevent him from speaking. Anyways, the bracket is set, and it's considerably small, and this is totally understandable. One of the really, really big parts of this tournament, as well as this qualifier, totally rolls around visas. The biggest concern is whether players can or cannot even play. So, for example, if you might be Liquid Snoot, you might be an amazing player, but if you need a visa to play in Canada and you can't get it in time, then we can't have you at the event. Now, I'm not saying that Snoot is or isn't in that category or anything like that. I was just using him as an example. So for some of these folks who are the more, we'll say, amateur side of players who are just looking at the free plane trip and the free hotel and the chance to play for $10,000, great, but you got to consider the logistics of it too. So we may end up removing people from today's bracket or the wildcard bracket, depending on whether they can handle visas or not. I've also asked Dares to continue spamming a bracket. One sec.
Ooh.
Sorry. Yeah, this has been another problem where people have been asking about, like, well, what qualifies as Europe or not? The reason we're classifying the regions the way we do, guys, normally is because it's off server and blah, blah, blah. But for this tournament, it's based incredibly and entirely off of, like, where you're living, where your airport is, for the flight costs of it all. We're not the ones fronting the bill. The sponsors are, and they also have limitations on what they're willing to spend. So, for example, if you might be the best damn European player living in Korea, you're not going to get a fully paid flight from Korea because it costs more than flying from, say, again, we use Snoot as an example, Norway. Actually, flying Snoot out, I use him as an example here because we flew him out for the Ting Open, and that was incredibly cheap in the grand scheme of things. Like, I thought flying people from Europe would cost like literally like $1,500 or something. I think our Home Story Cup flights were like $1,000 each at least or something. So when I found out like it was like less than $700 or something to fly Snoot out, I'm like, oh wow, Europe's awesome.
Europe's confusing. Like you can go to like I think Greenland for like less than $300. They like that new program set up, and like I was looking at Paris flights that I thought were gonna be like $1,000 too, and they're like, yeah, like 500, 600. So it's like a region / what day you book them type thing. Book them. A blank. AL. I don't know what it is. Well, the bracket is final. Aside from, I guess, the debate's going on right now.
Yeah, people are discussing residency here. So you guys will notice my mic's down because I'm using this one for Zombie Grub.
Yeah.
Actually, so this guy's asking, South Africa, this is going to be such a dumb question if I don't know the answer, because I don't know the answer to this, but South Africa is not part of Europe, I think, right?
Yeah.
Okay, guys, it's in the Team Liquid thread. If you don't know / are unsure if you are part of EU, just play the wild card qualifiers. Okay, so it's in the Team Liquid thread. We've mentioned it many times before, and I'll bring it up again now. If you don't know whether you qualify for a region, this is why we have wildcard qualifiers and events. They have a slightly bigger budget. They also have the freedom to let anybody come in and play. So, folks right now who are like Drager, for example, wants to play, but he's from South Africa. I just play the wildcard qualifiers. There's 2 of them.
Mm-hmm. Played Wednesday and Thursday. No, Wednesday and... No, yeah. Yes, Wednesday and Thursday.
Yeah. So it's Elima League tomorrow, then wildcard, then wildcard.
Mm-hmm.
Hype.
Oh. Those are 2 different times, though, right?
Yes. This was to accommodate the, I guess, generic regions of the world. So one of the qualifiers I think is late, the other one's early. And I think I did it correctly where I did the late one second. I hope I did at least. Otherwise, that's gonna suck.
Yeah, you did. You did.
All right. Well, it looks like brackets are final, and players may or may not be dropping out due to regions and stuff. Yeah, Zaylan and Drager have to be removed. Oh, Healer! Yo, Healer's playing. Yo, Healer! I'm cheering for you, man. If you hear this right now.
He's probably going up against Sol, though. Sol's going to be late, so he might get dropped down.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
Yeah, but he's like on the cusp, like his bus ran late or something. But he would be a contender, I think. Like, I mean, Sol, SolO, Healer, Ziggy is GM. We cast him a couple days ago.
Yeah, Ziggy actually placed top 4 in the Corsair Cup, won some prize money.
Yeah, so those are probably the people to look at. I think it's already been done.
Of course, yesterday was kind of crazy. I thought for a moment, it wasn't the case, but I thought for a moment we had set a new record with the Bit Boss battle based on yesterday's events. We actually didn't. You want to know by how much, though?
$5.
Well, I guess I didn't consider Montian did donate instead of do bits. So, I guess... Well, anyways, the total... Our previous bit record was not broken by 65 bits.
Oh, whoa.
It was that close. It was that crazy.
That's pretty close. Sense.
So, it was an SC2 Ultras I got in contact with last night. He's trying to get time off. I guess this is kind of cool. I learned he was a sous chef after having a conversation with him. But I changed over the ownership of the ticket to him. His name's on the thing, etc. But he might not be able to go, and if he can't, he's gonna give the ticket to his buddy, just so everyone's aware, like, of I guess how we handle that. So he's all taken care of and good to go. There's no scammerinos here on BaseTradeTV.
Try not to, anyways. Try really hard. Okay, well. Do you want to cast Geralt versus SolO or Ziggy versus Zoras?
Both sound fine to me.
I got an invite to SolO, so that's what we're gonna do.
We gotta remake the lobby anyways, cause Game Heart.
Boom, 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 boom.
Excuse me. So anyways, yeah, people are still debating in chat what's going on here. Guys,
shit.
Again, once more, regardless of what region you think is or isn't eligible for this, at the end of the day, as we said, we set up 2 wildcard qualifiers as kind of like a safety net for all players. So if somebody wasn't able to compete today, come back Wednesday, come back Thursday. One of the events is at like great times for Europe. The other wildcard qualifiers at great times for North America. Also, I've asked Darius to be aggressive with brackets today, walkovers today. So he'll be pushing this stuff as quick as we can. And I don't imagine this is going to be a super long qualifier, but it is still double elimination. So you guys are going to get a fair share of games today.
Yeah.
Sorry, I tried to move that mic away from my mouth.
I can deal with it.
Mm.
Tough.
TUFF.
That's like if you like were like tough puff or something, you know? Like if you spell it that way, it's not that tough. It's like tough puff marshmallows. Man, we had s'mores at the barbecue I was at, and the person who brought them brought like these huge marshmallows. Like they're like this big. They were awesome. I just had a marshmallow, and I love burning the marshmallow. I don't know how y'all make your marshmallows in your s'more sandwiches, but I like to burn it. Just let it all crispy. Some people say that's really weird. I always thought that was the way you're supposed to do it.
I know some people like to like burn it to like a crisp and then peel it off. And I always thought like once you peel it off, the burnt part on the outside, you just get that really gooey inside bit that's so good. But people eat just the straight up burnt part. I'm like, why would you do this?
Okay, well, SolO's also ready. Let's do this.
All right, so Odyssey is going to be the first map in this best of 3. It's a ZVP. And SolO we've actually seen a fair bit of over the years. In fact, we kind of got to watch him grow. Not exactly the... I'm trying to think who I compare this to. Like, I guess we watch players... Like, we've been watching people since, like, the days of the Zotac Cup. So we've seen a lot of these folks, like, at their at their roots. But SolO is one of these guys who I feel he's always constantly moving up, but it's much slower than the pace of a lot of other players. And that's not to say anything good or bad about him, but he is finally in a pretty nice spot. We'll see if he's good enough to take on his opponent here in the first best of 3 of the day for the North by Northeast Gameland Invitational European Qualifiers. In the bottom right, we have, of course, from Root Gaming, as I poorly punned, the blue Zerg player, SolO.
In the top left is the green Protoss. He is Geralt.
The Witcher.
See, I know it was it's like an actual name, but I never played The Witcher, so I don't really know how to pronounce it. Geralt? Like, is it Gerald with a T, or is it like Geralt?
You know what? I've played the game. They say his name, and I actually can't remember off the top of my head.
Beautiful. I'm gonna go with like Gerald with a T. Cool. Thank you to a live game for the 13-month resub.
You know what? I'm going to go with Geralt, because I'm going to stand firmly by my gift stance.
Oh god. This is like giraffes.
Giraffes are my favorite long-necked animal.
Wow. Wowzers.
They're... You're right. That was terrible logic on my end. Geralt actually sounds right anyways. But regardless, SolO... I'm a little bit wondering what strategy he's going to be rolling with here, right? We saw a lot of ZVPs yesterday. A lot of ZVZs too. But a lot of ZVPs yesterday. And I think what was interesting was, it of course all came down to Ling Hydra Bane, as seems to be the new go-to for all Zerg players right now. But there are a few who are still favoring mutas, and some even favoring 2 base mutas. So I'm not sure what direction we're going to see SolO fly down just yet. But I'm curious to see, with Odyssey being the map, it's probably going to be Hydras, I have to guess.
Oh, I think it's going to be Ling Hydra. I mean, really, we'll find out pretty soon. If it was in an evolution chamber and gets +1 melee, which is like, I want to say like 80% of what Zergs are doing nowadays, especially in Europe. Maybe Korea's a little bit different, but even then, I think it's kind of the same thing. So that's what I'll be waiting for. And then, of course, more so on what the Protoss is doing. We have a Twilight Council on the way. I mean, that's not surprising at all. I have a variety of openers, but Resident Enclaves? Probably. Still no Robo. Whoopsie. But then what after that, of course? Like third, Double Stargate. Double Stargate after Twilight Council is, I feel like, really died off a lot, though. And, like, a couple Protosses do it. Oh, Pylon Block of the third. It's annoying. As you can see, SolO's starting to make a lot of money. Who's planning on taking that?
Well, dumps that money into Lings. I think the problem is... Oh, he takes the third down here. I was going to say, the problem is like with the base layouts on this map. Like we discussed this a little bit in terms of like what our preferences are. But for players, it is a matter of like, are you really comfortable taking this space if you have to? Like, is that fine? Because for some people, it might not be.
Yeah, I think I don't know. Like Odyssey, really, I feel like you're not really expanding towards your opponent to be like a huge no-no for
Ooh,
Zergs. Like
ooh.
wherever you do expand.
Yo, this is bad actually. There's no lings at home. They're all stuck on a wall on the other side of the
Yeah,
map, so the drones have to get pulled away from this. That's a lot of
that's
lost mining time.
yeah, it is. It definitely is. I mean, he's so close to breaking it down. In fact, if he had target fired the cyber escort from the get-go, he might have gotten warp gate. But unfortunately, it is going to just finish up
Ah,
here.
that's a good point. If you didn't waste time on that adept, that could have been a very devastating blow. That being said, though, the force field's going to be able to plug that gap, and they shouldn't get too out of hand. The second layer of wall is actually
Okay.
really nice for this. Well, that's actually a problem
Still,
there.
yeah, it's it's a sentry let one too many
Oh,
lings
no.
through.
And he warped in directly in the middle of the lings.
Yeah, that was a problem as well. I mean, it's 4 gateways. Finally, the motion core gets
Hold
involved
the
too.
door! Hold the door!
So, okay, it was more awkward than it had to be. Like, really, like if everything went smoothly, then Geralt just gets, all the wins here. But didn't really go smoothly at the end. So they both kind of just shuffle around. But SolO is still only on 28 drones, with only one more on the way. So, like, he has to start doing some damage, or just at least cancel that third base once. I think he can do that, like with more lings on the way. If he can do that, then maybe that makes up, as he's trying to power drones now. Ah, those adepts are in a nice position.
Yeah, that's actually... It's an unconventional pylon, but it's a great sim city for the base.
Yeah, that probe's gonna have the most terrible time mining there.
Yeah, you always
But,
tear it
right,
down
like
later.
it works. Yeah. This is actually bad news for SolO. I mean, the fact that Geralt had that trouble with his wall, like, helped a little bit, but he managed to even sneak into third base, like, really quickly, while the Lings just, like, kind of went back home for a second. That puts him in a good position. It's about, 3/4 of the way done. He's up 12 workers, and SolO's still just trying to barely, like, bridge that. That's pretty brutal. And SolO didn't go for +1, yet I think his plan is still to go into Ling, Baneling, Hydra. So now he just doesn't have that, like, usual upgrade you see in a regular ZVP macro game.
Well, the nice thing is, with the Baneling Nest finishing up, these adepts shouldn't be as problematic as they've been. I mean, I guess it's funny to phrase it like that, though, because it's not the unit type that's been a problem. It's that SolO didn't have any units. There's like 2 queens defending earlier. Same sort of situation here. All the lings are turning into banelings. There's nothing to really fight, so drones are pulled once again. And Geralt keeps spiking in income every time these drones have to get pulled away.
Yeah. Doesn't want to use the banelings on a single adept. So just trying to save him. But more adepts are starting to shade in here. He's into the main base, taking a couple lings down with him, but 3 more shade into that natural. I don't know if that was... Well, that should have been the smartest thing to do, but they do manage to get into the mineral line. Like, the shade wasn't really close to it at all, but they managed to get into an okay position. And they get into an okay position in the main again? No, not that great. But this is all just, like, taking a lot of time. And by the way, Geralt on the back end did go for double Stargate, something that I mentioned, like, doesn't seem to be as popular lately, but that's his choice. He's going to be fully saturated on all 3 bases and can go into kind of whatever he wants here. Like, SolO is still only on Ling Baneling tech, by the way. Like, Lair's done, but +1 isn't, and Hydralisk Den still isn't being formed, no Spire or anything like that. It is just Ling Baneling.
Well, the adepts get cleaned up, and 9 drones in total died, but in the grand scheme of things, he's just behind in workers by such a big amount. I'm pretty sure that's Guru on another account, by the way.
Of course.
Geralt is just rocking it this game, honestly. I mean, the defense was good, the SimCity was great, the third base at the time it was. I mean, he's had all these leads from it, and SolO is going to bleed out a few more workers before all is said and done. He's trying to replace them with the drones, but that means all larva's being used on that instead of more army, so he can't actually fight these adepts.
I can't believe, like, these adepts, usually you don't go by, like, 4 and then 6 and then 2 and then 6 and, like, you don't just keep going them forward. You know, like, that usually just starts to really backfire, especially when the upgrades have been done and the banelings have been morphed in. But these have been doing not just direct damage in the drone line, but also just keeping SolO, like, dealing with it. So, his third base was delayed by that pylon, but eventually it came down. That was okay, but his drones have always been very low, and his fourth base hasn't started. Like I said, his army just was never very fearsome, because usually, you start overcommitting with the adepts, you lose out in your army. the counterattack when you're in a bad spot, but there's actually no fear of that happening. And Geralt's on a 4th base, 3rd Stargate on the way, Fleet Beacon 2. He's really going to mass air, and SolO, I don't think has an opportunity to stop it. Maybe he'll have one opportunity, like one shot with the Hydras before the carrier count gets too high or whatever he's going to make from those Stargates. But that's it, and I don't think it's going to be a very strong attack.
Oh, Queen almost goes down. Hydras are finally out for SolO, though, so the tides might start turning. He doesn't have a great economy, but these are going to shred most of what they come up to fight against. And even though the Oracles can kill Hydras very quickly, they don't have the health to take those hits.
Yeah. Oh my god. I don't think SolO has been dealing with the Adepts for so long that he managed to get one little attack in the 3rd base. But other than that, no scouting. Just an overlord between the main and the natural. So he doesn't know about the 4th base. He doesn't know about the Stargates.
I just wonder if this is borderline trolling. 3 Oracles from 3 Stargates is a cheesy build that works in the early game. I don't know that it works in the late game once Hydras are in play. I mean, if it does, cool, Protoss is OP, yeah, blah, blah, blah. But still, it's just strange to see this be the weapon of choice instead of going straight to the bigger, badder units.
3 splits, knowing the Bannerlords would form eventually.
Don't forget what I said.
And that's it.
The Hydras didn't focus fire at all. They were shooting left, right, center on the Adepts. GG. Yep. Geralt will take the first game in this best of 3.
That was certainly odd. I feel like SolO was just warming up there.
Yeah, I kind of got that vibe too. I mean, if it was an all-in, I could understand those same struggles against the player who's been warmed up and playing all day and good to go. But I really feel like, as you mentioned, it's weird watching 2 Adepts funnel in and then 4 Adepts and then 6, and it just really, I didn't feel it was a substantial amount at any point that should have caused as much trouble as they did.
No. I'm sure SolO's probably looking at that one moment where he used his Lings offensively instead of defensively is probably the point where everything went wrong, because that was seriously a committed attack. It's very low drone count and he could never recover. So, but then everything did spiral beyond that. That next map is going to be Ascension to Ire. Kind of a similar map. I know Odyssey and Ascension to Ire aren't actually similar enough to be basically the same, but to me, I don't know. The defining features, it's a big map with a lot of open space in the middle, and the 3rd bases are either in a triangle or a straight line. Those things 3 things combined makes me go like the same map. I don't fucking care.
I guess I can see your point of view on that. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're hopping into game number 2 of the best of 3. He's currently down 1 game at the moment. In the bottom right, we got the Blue Zerg player, Root SolO.
In the top left is the green Protoss. He is Geralt. That's what I've been calling him.
Yeah, I think it sounds fine. So, a reminder what everyone here today is playing for. It's not just a qualifier spot to go to the finals like you would in a conventional online tournament, but it is also a fully paid trip to Canada, hotel covered, as well as a chance to play in that 8-man invitational final event. The big part of this too is there is last place prizing, so you gotta consider it's not just all of those other wonderful things I listed, but you're basically getting $550 for 8th place in the tournament. So just by showing up, you've won prize money.
Yeah, it's a really good deal. I mean, DreamHack technically, I suppose, will still have more, maybe more prestige, and it does have WCS
not maybe,
points
for sure.
Well, yeah, I guess it really. Yeah. I guess I'm personally biased. I don't actually think the WCS event's that prestigious, so no one mentioned that the Blizzard. But everyone shush.
This is why I'm don't clip that and don't send it to Zombie Girl.
No, there's actually double WCS points on the line as well. But I would say for a lot of people, I'm surprised not more people signed up, because of course yesterday was a bit odd for the North Americans because it was literally also the ladder challenger, so they really had to decide do I ladder or don't I. With the Europeans, it's already done. So they know if they're just going to travel there, in the open bracket, or they're actually already placed. So I would consider all the people who are just traveling would see this as a better opportunity. But
that's actually a good point, because your team or you would have to pay for travel otherwise. But I don't know. So that's where it gets like depending on who you are, right?
Well, like even if it's
somebody
like a $50 train ticket, if you're in the open bracket, you could just theoretically never get anything at all from doing that.
Right, and that's where I'm saying it depends on who you are. Because somebody like you, Thermal's going to show up and definitely make or likely make top 32,
Yeah, now like
top
game
16.
time's not there. Am I right?
Oh.
Actually, he might be.
Well, it might be. We'll find out. Yeah, exactly. Because he was one of the folks who finished into the Challenger Series through ladder qualifiers.
Yeah.
But
yeah, right.
At any rate, the thing about the Gameland Invitational is it was made in conflict with WCS. It wasn't made on purpose in conflict. It was an event that didn't initially plan to have StarCraft that we convinced to have StarCraft. So I think that what's nice about it is I look at this bracket today, and no disrespect to the two folks we're casting right now, the standout players to me, though, are folks like... oh, I guess he's off the bracket. Feels bad, man. Well, I was going to say Sol's a pretty good contender, I think, for sure. Ziggy surprised us the other day. Maybe SolO if he pulls it together. But it'd be very, very interesting to see which of these folks pulls through and gets to the, I guess, the finals. I saw Optimus in the sign-up. I'm surprised he didn't check in and play, though. A little bit sad about that, too.
SolO was advanced. I guess his opponent wasn't here either.
Oh, Healer was a no-show?
No, so SolO versus Zetrax.
No, that was the guy we disqualified.
Oh, yeah. Okay, well, still, then the idea is there. So he was here, but we disqualified. So Sol, who was going to be late, didn't end up being sent down. So he's just facing Healer now.
Cool.
Where I thought he was going to be the losers bracket because he was going to be late.
Nice.
Anyways, it works out. Yeah. But I was like, I think, not just because I think we're Terran, but just it's a it's kind of a universal thing that foreigner Terrans have the struggles.
The
I like cheering
bug.
for a foreigner. Yeah, foreigner Terrans is like, I guess, kind of a thing. Regular openers here. This looks like a much cleaner game from honestly like both sides. Because even though Geralt like eventually got this like huge lead and he kind of like played around with oracles and it didn't even matter, there was like miss macro and like the whole gateway situation that he didn't have his wall set up. He had to like double, triple layer the wall. Like it was a little bit awkward, but this is like seriously just a macro game. Nothing really else going on here. Stargate into adept play as opposed to vice versa. SolO I guess doesn't like the earlier +1 that a lot of their Zergs seem to. And he's still going into Ling Baneling, but just not super early evolution chamber.
I like the +1 because it does. Lings are just such garbage units without upgrades, honestly. But once you get that +1, they can suddenly take on adepts. They can tear down buildings. Like the +1 benefits them so well because of course they come two at a time. It's a pair. It's a deal.
Yeah, he's now getting it. I'm pretty sure everyone else.
Actually, I never thought how great that was. If you think about it, like Zergling, like every upgrade that applies to Zergling applies to two Zerglings, and they attack so fast, so they really get huge benefits from upgrades.
They do. Adrenal gland upgrades.
Oh god, I didn't even think about that taking to that far, but yeah, get adrenal glands, get that +2 rolling, have that +2 eventually.
It's bullshit when they have ultras and 3/3 adrenal gland lings tearing down planetaries, and you're like, well. What am I supposed to do?
Really? Because I'm just like, oh, I got building armor.
Of course you do. No, it's not that big of a complaint, but it does get really nasty, especially since they upgraded adrenal glands from Heart of the Swarm.
Yeah, I kind of forgot that got a buff since HOTS.
Yeah, like it used to, in Brood War it was really severe, but in then StarCraft 2 for so long, it really wasn't a big deal. So you would honestly question, like, would you even want to get it over, for instance, +3? But like as the Void came out, and it was like, definitely the better upgrade. You should always get it. And I think they were talking about like reversing it too, I think at one point, but then it didn't end up being the biggest deal. Ultras took that spotlight. That was such a long time ago. Lings are so good. Anyway, Ling Hydra +1, it said it was on the way eventually, just not super fast, so it was not here to deal with this adept attack, for instance, which is after that Stargate. And where are those Hydras? Not here, not at a natural.
Banelings couldn't quite squeeze in there for a moment. A little bit awkward. As the Adepts continue to just kind of run rampant, we're seeing a bit of a similarity to last game where it's not that this is a big all-in attack, right? This wasn't... Yeah, as you mentioned, it was Stargate into Adepts and not the other way around, so they're hitting later than you would expect. They're hitting surprisingly hard for no upgrades, really. Just adrenal... Resonating Glaives, excuse me.
The shooting guns on the mine now.
Attack speed's attack speed at the end of the day.
It's true. And the Resident Glaives also went through a lot of changes from the beginning of Legacy of the Void. That thing was like so many different types of benefits. Where they just went to the attack speed. Probably shouldn't have. Well, actually, I was gonna say if you focus fires the Hydra, then maybe it's worth it. I gets almost 4. Not worth it. Probably should just let that one go. But he is going into Stargates again. So Stargate, then Adepts, then back into those Stargates. He does have that fully saturated third base. And SolO, well, he has, as I said, like a better game. Still not looking like so hot. Only just now getting up to 60 plus drones and having that really, really good economy. So he didn't really ever have this really big burst of Hydralisk. And Geralt's already on the way to a mothership and carriers. And if you're not going to bust them now with Hydras, then you got to start thinking like real long game terms, which I don't think SolO is.
Well, the nice thing is, when it's a mothership and 2 carriers, it's not so out of hand that if you recognize this, like if something were to see this, Ling run bys right now, something like that, you can still get over there with the Hydras and probably get some considerable damage. But Geralt's doing what he did last game. He's doing it very well in terms of keeping SolO at home. You'll note, SolO's actually got no Overlord spread on the map. He's got no scouting of this third. He's got no Lings running around to check. And playing blind like this, I think is going to kill him more than the actual units will.
Probably. No. Yeah, I'm already feeling pretty bad, you know. SolO's also still going for lurkers, which they can be an accessory tool to help take out like the Adepts or the High Templars if it got to that stage. But like an accessory to like a huge army, and there's not a huge army ready to go. So he's gonna make like, you know, a dozen lurkers maybe overcommit to them because he doesn't know. They might get Scott here finally, but then they're not gonna. I don't think that's gonna be as useful as they should be. It is all about the carriers right here, right now, and then maybe as the game goes on, the 13 14 minutes, we'll see lurkers play a role against the ground army. Lurkers and banlings.
My concern is this attack could actually get hard-hitting enough that it scares Geralt into doing something silly, but I really feel like enough of the banlings going to be used on buildings and Adepts, the carriers and the mothership. Well, the mothership's actually not with any of the rest of the army, so that's a bit of a problem right there. Banlings are just going to manually detonate on top of the pylons. There comes the Overseer now.
But if he does that, they can't help with the Adepts. So
yeah, there's that problem right there.
He doesn't have to use the carriers.
It probably seemed like a good idea. You have one of those moments you're like, I'm a genius. I'll take care of the pylons even though I can't see them. And then you realize how backfired it is. This is really bad though, because on the other side of the map, the Adepts are running rampant. I mean, regardless of how good or bad the fight went for SolO, yeah, I think he was going to lose back at home either way. So GG to Geralt, who would advance on in the brackets. Move on here through our first best of 3 of the day. He'll go on to fight the winner of Healer versus Soul. Do we know if they're actually playing? They're in game. So we may have to just sit here and wait for like a game 2 so we can follow this side of the bracket. Although Ziggy may end up having an opponent with either 7x Control or Ours. I don't know who the Ours guy is, but 7x Control is actually a pretty decent player we see make it to the round of 16 in most of our cups we cast.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we'll go to a small commercial break while we wait, and we'll see you guys here in a couple of minutes. Thanks for watching.